Ayan, pasabi if it's already recording. Okay, good. So, like what I mentioned, no, um, we're going to have first Anachem. So, this is just a one topic, no. We're just going to discuss indirect titration and its classical example, no, yung Kjeldal method. And then there's another example there. And then the remaining time will be allotted for uh, organic chem. So we're going back to um, alkenes. Okay? So, yeah, we may now start so that we'll end ng 6 kasi may meeting na ako, Josh, din. Ayan. So, for last meeting, we discussed about indirect titration. So, like what I mentioned, no, iba to sa back titration because in back titration, the preliminary reaction will produce products. However, these products will not be of importance kasi ang ano dito natin, Josh, yung titrant 1, yun pa rin yung magre-react dun sa titration reaction natin na titrant 2. Okay, so that is the scenario. However, for indirect titration, what we will do here is we will employ a preliminary reaction. So like this, no? Ay, hindi pala ito dapat. Um, mhm. Yan, there. Yan, so we will have a preliminary reaction wherein this preliminary reaction will form a product. So, and then this product will now react with your titrant. And then, so the second product is not of importance. So what's important here is that the relationship between your titrant and product, kasi we can easily get the moles of your product, no, from the titrant moles, right? And then we can get the analytes moles by getting the relationship between the product and the analyte belonging in your preliminary reaction equation. Okay, clear ba Tito Josh, no? So, yeah, okay. Loud naman ba yung aking sounds, Josh? Like, it's okay? Okay, yeah. And then, so yung video ko dun sa device ko, tumigil na ako. Baka bumabagal yung net. Pero anyways, ayan. Oh, with the next slide, please. So we have this reaction, no? Solve natin siya later. So we have a 0.2160 gram sample of primary standard grade HGO, which was dissolved in 75 ml of uh, is the meeting ongoing, Josh? Okay, good. So, ayan. 75 ml of aqueous solution of Ki, and then between the reaction of Ki and which is iodide, yung mahalaga doon, Josh, and mercuric oxide, you form here hydroxide. And then this liberated hydroxide was titrated against hydrochloric acid. So this one will be titrated and then you'll form these products, okay? So what we need here is we need to calculate the molarity of the HCl solution. So this time, actually ito Josh, standardization ito ni HCl. Pero if you will notice, we're using the indirect titration technique, no? So parang supposed to be ang analyte natin mercuric oxide eh, no? Pero dito baliktad, yung titrant yung gusto nating malaman na um, concentration. Okay? So, is this balance? Balance na ba ito? Yeah, mukhang balance to, right? So, if that is the case, what can you say about the stoichiometry of your first reaction, the preliminary reaction? So, ang mahalaga dito is 1 mole. Wait. Sulat lang tayo. Yun. So, 1 mole HGO is equal to 2 moles OH minus. Okay? And then for the titration reaction, 1:1 na lang ito, right? So 1, ganyan na naman siya. So 1 hydroxide, wait lang ha, para mas maluwag lang siya, Josh. So we have here 1 mole mercuric oxide equals 2 moles of hydroxide. So ang mahalaga dito yung product eh. Kasi this product will now be reacting with your titrant. So 1 mole of hydroxide is equal to 1 mole HCl. So with that, if we will be getting the moles of mercuric oxide, we can get the moles of the hydroxide, and then we can determine the moles of HCl. Okay, so with that, can you search, Josh, or hindi lang search, calculate the molar mass of HGO? So actually, we have the molar mass, yung exact kasing need natin eh, or formula mass ni MgO. So what is the formula mass of HGO? Um, do you know the formula mass, Josh? Wait, let me search. Nandito yun sa... Ito, 216.59. Yan o, 216.59 grams per mole. So if that is the case, let's go back to our slide. Indirect titration. Ayan. So indirect titration, since we already have the moles of the mole relationship of the preliminary reaction, titration reaction, we can actually determine the concentration of your HCl now. So, ano na ang next step natin? Ang binigay ay 0.2160 gram of your HGO. Tapos, dinisolve daw sa 75 ml of an aqueous solution of Ki. So, we don't need the Ki there, no? So, we can easily convert this into moles. Yan. Okay, so 216 point. Kakainis tong ano, grams for every mole of HGO. And then, how many moles are liberated for every moles of HGO, Josh? Hydroxide. 2 moles hydroxide. And then for every mole of hydroxide, how many moles of HCl? 1 mole HCl. So we'll have here the moles of HCl, right? And then I'll just divide that with the given volume of HCl. What's the volume of HCl? That's 0.02213 liters. So, yan, let's calculate muna yung nasa taas. Ay, wala pala yung calcu ko dito. Can you calculate, Josh? Yan. Yan, yung problem natin. Pa-double check na lang din. 0.2160 over 216.59. And then, tsaka ita times 2. Yan. So my answer is 0.0019946 moles HCl. Pero diretso ko na yung sa calcu divide 0.02213. So ano ang nakuha mong molarity? 0.0904 na sigpig. 13 molar HCl. This is what I determined. Sa'yo, Josh, anong nakuha mo? Do we have the same answer? Okay, yeah. So if you will notice here, Josh, ano yung ginawa natin technically dito sa problem? So we have HCl here, that's your titrant. However, it's the one that we determine its concentration, right? So this is what? Ano to, yung overall na method? Yes, Josh? You want to determine the concentration of your titrant using a primary standard grade na mercuric oxide. So what is this process? Yes, Josh, anong process ito? Determination to eh. Determination of the concentration of your titrant via solid primary standard grade. Let's for to be specific, this is mercury oxide. This is what? Yes? Hmm? No, that's the titration technique. Pero the procedures that we've done, like we determine the concentration of your HCl, which is your titrant, from a primary standard grade mercuric oxide or mercury to oxide. That is what? Hmm. Supposed to be dapat, 'di ba, given yung concentration ni titrant. Pero dito hindi, siya yung hinahanap. Pero yung method natin or yung technique that we use for titration is indirect kasi nga meron kang preliminary reaction tapos yung product ng preliminary reaction siya yung ni-react mo kay titrant, no? So, even though this is a different case, no, hindi siya yung usual case na ang hinahanap natin ay yung analyte. Instead, yung concentration ni titrant. This one still uses indirect titration as its titration technique. Yes, Josh, ano to in general? Determination of titrant concentration using a solid primary standard grade, to be specific, mercury oxide. Ano nga ito? Yes. Anong tawag? Hmm. This is your hmm, primary standard to ang nakuha mo kasi kinuha mo siya from a primary standard. So anong tawag dito sa method na to or yung technique wherein we determine the concentration of your titrant using a primary standard reagent na mercury oxide? This is just what? Yes, yes. Hindi. Wala kang primary solution dito. Ang primary solution mo, si HCl. Pero meron kang solid primary standard grade na mercury oxide. So this is what? Hmm. Yun yung clue mo. Sabi ko ay you want to determine the concentration of your titrant using a primary standard grade reagent. Solid na primary standard grade reagent. And then you can now use your HCl in any other any other Hindi. Hindi. Ano lang 'to, yung method na 'to. Ano? Yun lang yun. This one is a standardization technique or method. So, um, ibig sabihin nito, Josh, kapag meron kang HCl solution and you want to standardize it, you can use mercury oxide. Pero pag mercury 2 oxide ang ginamit mo na solid, you're going to use indirect titration technique. Kasi hindi naman directly nagre-react ang HCl kay HGO. right? So ang nangyari dito, your HGO was reacted first with a potassium iodide solution so that it can liberate hydroxide. And then whatever moles ang na-liberate ni nung mercury oxide mo no dun sa reaction, that will be titrated against HCl. And then using stoichiometric relationship, we can determine actually the moles of HCl, and consequently will determine the concentration of your titrant. And then once you standardize the HCl concentration, you can now use that for titration. Okay? So, yep. Mukhang okay na ito. Delete ko muna lahat. Tapos, yan. Lipat tayo dito. Ayan. Next slide. Okay. And then, yeah. We've already established this last time eh. So, na-establish na rin natin kanina na, ayan, hindi hydronium ion yung kailangan natin. Instead, we're going to use this hydroxide, no? Kasi the hydroxide is the product of your preliminary reaction. So, for every mole of mercuric oxide, you form 2 moles of hydroxide. And then, yung sa second reaction mo, yung titration reaction, 1:1 lang sila. Okay. So, I think this is where we ended up dun sa without the calculation na kasi yung calculation di naman din natin ginawa last time. So, yung last meeting, classical example ng indirect titration is actually Keldal method. Okay, Keldal method is not new to you because we've discussed this already. So, review lang ito, no? I can fast track the discussion. So ang Keldal method, Josh, is a very useful technique so that we can determine elemental analysis of nitrogen. No? So how do we do this? First is um, any sample that contains nitrogen will be digested using sulfuric acid. No? So yung sulfuric acid mo, siya yung taga-digest. No? In general, Josh, in analytical chemistry or in laboratories, if you're going to perform digestion, usually we use strong acids here. So sulfuric acid, nitric acid can also be used here. Um, HCl can also be used pero hindi yan ideal usually kasi may mga chlorides and most probably baka magkaroon siya ng mga side reactions, no? So nitric acid and sulfuric acid are really good, no, for decomposing organic compounds. Yun nga lang, medyo mabagal yung digestion, no? So we need to add a catalyst here. So pwede rin dito ang catalyst potassium chloride if I'm not mistaken, no? Or potassium salt. So we can add here transition metals such as copper, selenium, and titanium. Although selenium is not a transition metal, take note of that. So copper, selenium, or titanium can be added as catalyst so that we can convert any organic nitrogen. So these are also bound nitrogens, no, in the sample. So pwedeng nasa proteins iyan, pwedeng nasa mga nucleotides, Josh. Pero we want to liberate those bound nitrogen so that we can form the ammonium ion. No? So yun yung unang step. Meron ka ng ammonium ion. Once you form the ammonium ion, the resulting mixture should be made basic. What can you say about the ammonium ion? Bakit gagawin mo siyang basic, Josh? Ano ba yung nature ni ammonium ion? Is that a what? Ano siya? Anong type ng ano yan? Ion. NH4 plus, yeah. Pero ano siya? It's a, yes, Josh. Anong type ng substance yan? Si ammonium. NH4 plus. Si NH4 plus. Hmm? What? Anong type to ng substance? Si NH4 plus, aqueous, oh. We're doing acid-base here. Ano siya?
Ah,
Acid or
acid.
base? Yeah, this is an acid. So, mm, it's a weak acid. Okay? So, Tapos sabi dito sa step 2, we're going to make it basic. Bakit? Why do you want that? So that you can convert your ammonium ion, which is a weak acid, into what? Hmm. Ano mangyayari
Ano
dito?
na,
Hmm? Hindi oh. Weak acid nga siya eh. So ibig sabihin magdo-donate siya dun sa base. Again, ayun, ammonia and water ang mabubuo.
ano pong
Yeah, ammonium hydroxide. Pero tuloy-tuloy kasi ito eh, na reaction. So liquid. Pero tama ka doon na ammonium hydroxide talaga yung nabubuo dyan. No? Ammonium hydroxide. Pero hindi yan magiging salt form kasi nasa aqueous solution yan sila eh. Unless you dry up the solution. Okay? So, since you're forming now here ammonia in gaseous state, no? So, you're liberating ammonia this time. So, the liberated ammonia will be distilled using this, ano, no? This setup. So, if you will notice here, this is your heating mantle. Step 1 to, no? Tapos nandito yung sample mo. Okay? Your sample contains here bound nitrogen, organic sample ito. And then, inside a distilling flask. Tapos, magkakaroon ng digestion, no? And then, you're going to have here ammonium ion. At some point, no, parang dapat you make sure here that the digestion is complete. Hours yan, Joshua, yung digestion. Let's say 2 hours, 3 hours. Ganun yung katagal. Okay? So 1 to 2 hours. Once the digestion is complete, you will now add hydroxide or strong base. So mag-add ka dyan ng strong base. So you add here a strong base. Tapos, from ammonium ion, that addition of strong base should lead us to the next step wherein we convert the ammonium ions into ammonia. And then gaseous ito kasi nga continuously na hiniheat up siya. No? This ammonia will be distilled. No? So we have this fractionating column so that ammonia can only be distilled. No? Gusto natin si ammonia lang. And then the gaseous ammonia will be condensed, no? So that it can be collected in this trap. So yung receiving plasma. So that is your acid trap. So anong mangyayari kay ammonia, Josh? Bakit acid trap siya? So your liberated ammonia is distilled off and collected in an acidic solution and determined in a neutralization reaction. Why? Bakit acid trap yung need mo? Bakit ang dulong-dulo mo nung mismong setup ay acid trap? Uy, review na lang ito.
bali acid po.
Yeah, Ano ba yung kino-collect mo? Ah, acid yung kino-collect mo? Yeah, kasi yung NH3 mo, siya yung nanggaling kay ammonium. And yung ammonium, galing yun sa nitrogen nung sample mo. And that's what we wanted, no? Yung concentration ng nitrogen dun sa sample. Kasi nga, elemental analysis ito ng nitrogen, eh, no? So that's the reason why an acid trap should be placed here. Question, Josh. Known ba yung concentration ni acid trap? Yes or no? Hmm. Hindi, I mean, pwede ba siyang alam? Hindi possibly, most of the time, no? Or in general,
Bali,
mm, alam natin yung concentration ng acid trap mo so that madali na lang yun. Ang gagawin natin, yung acid trap mo, so sobrahan mo siya. Like, concentrated yan, no? Or in excess. Para at least we're sure that all ammonia that will be liberated, no, will be reacting with our acid trap solution. Ngayon, yung excess ni acid trap, yun yung ide-determine natin para we can determine the amount of acid that actually reacted with your ammonia. And then, kung ano man yung amount ng acid na nag-react sa ammonia, we can relate that to the ammonia, relate to ammonium, and then relate to the nitrogen in the sample. Okay? So, usually your acid trap here is boric acid, sulfuric acid, HCl, no? So, whatever acid trap that you have. Pero kapag boric acid yung ginamit natin, kasi yung original Kjeldahl method used actually boric acid. So we'll be having indirect titration method here. But in general, Kjeldahl is an indirect titration technique. Okay? So, Josh, kapag naputol yung meeting ha, join ka na lang. Clear? Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. So, like what I mentioned, no, yung Kjeldahl method, this is an elemental analysis for nitrogen. Ngayon, there's a fixed ratio, no, for nitrogen kasi in organic samples. So, how did we know this, right, no, Josh? Parang kung tanong natin, paano yun nalaman? So, yung suitable factor for protein determination, when we go to biochem, you will notice that there are several amino acids lang that contain extra nitrogen. When you say extra nitrogen, in there are groups. Kasi automatic, Josh, pag amino acid, meron talagang nitrogen. Kasi may amino group yun, no? However, may mga amino acids kasi that they contain extra nitrogens there. Okay? And these extra nitrogens in these amino acids can actually be somehow estimated. And that's the reason why we can have suitable factor for protein determination in different sample. So example, we can have meat for meat and meat products or other um, yeah, meat products, pork, chicken, and then beef. No? So the factor is 6.25, and then for dairy products, we have the milk, cheese, and all. So we have here 6.38, and then for cereals, we have 5.70, and then for wheat flour is 5.70 as well. So in general, yung mga cereals, starchy food, in general yan, around 5.7 yung factor nila. So if you will notice here, Josh, which one will contains the highest amount of nitrogen among the products? Yan, yung usual products, food products na meron tayo. Yes, Josh. Sino ang may mataas na nitrogen? See? Correct. No? And that's the reason why yung meat, siya yung magandang source ng ano, base dito. Na okay, correct, ng nitrogen or protein. Kaya kung gusto mo ng nitrogen or protein, you go with meat, no? Kasi siya yung mas mataas kumpara dun sa other um, food products. However, no, maganda ding source ng protein ang uh, dairy products. In general nga, tignan mo, Josh, mas mataas nga yung dairy products eh. No? A very good source of protein ang dairy products. Okay, so with that, we can actually determine uh, we can try, no, the concept of indirect titration here via this problem, no, Kjeldahl analysis. Can you, ay ako na lang, Josh. So, wait lang. Mag-erase lang ako nito because we don't want this. Oh, may napindot ba ako? Sana hindi. Okay, and then gonna screenshot this. Okay. Ay, yan. Okay, and then I'm taking a screenshot lang, Josh, ha? Yeah. So that we can place it in our board. So I'll stop sharing and then I'm going to share our whiteboard documents. And then it's still loading on my end, Josh. Wait lang. Ayan. Loading na on my end yung ano, yung board. Nag-load na ba sa'yo, Josh? Ah, yeah, me too. Okay, and then, oh, just going to paste it here. There. Ayan. Mukhang ano naman na to. Can you properly read naman na, Josh? Mhm. Okay, mukhang manipis. Mukhang okay naman pala. Yan. Okay, so let's help together so that we can solve this problem, no? So ako ang so the weight of your sample, ay, naka-eraser pala ako. So yung weight daw ng sample is equal to what? 0.7121 gram. Tapos wheat flour ito. So wheat flour, ang factor natin ay times 5.70. Hi Josh, can you now hear me? Okay, sige. I'll just continue lang ha. So we have here, uh, oh, ayan. So we have here now the weight of your sample with flour daw ito. So the suitable factor for protein determination is times 5.7. Uh, the ammonia form was analyzed by Kendall method. Then the ammonia formed by addition of concentrated base after digestion with sulfuric acid was distilled in 25 milliliters of 0.04977 molar HCl. So HCl yung acid trap natin dito. Concentration of HCl, this is 0.04977 molar. Pangit. Yan. 0.04977 molar. Tapos ang volume natin ay 25 ml. So this is our acid trap. Yan yung acid trap natin. Tapos, of course, our acid trap is, Josh in excess to, right? Bakit nga ulit?
Para
Okay, yeah. So, lahat ng ammonia na na-liberate from the digestion of your organic sample should be trapped in the acid trap, no? Kaya siya acid trap in HCl. And then, we want to make it in excess and concentrated so that all liberated ammonia will be captured or will be reacted. So, the reaction is complete. So, since in excess ito, yung excess HCl will be back titrated using this base, no? So, we have the concentration of your sodium hydroxide used for back titration, 0.04012 molar. And then the volume used for back titration is, maliit lang, no? 3.97 milliliters. So, how do we get this? So, ako ang suggestion ko, Josh, is present your solution in a organized manner, no, so that the checker can easily read this. So, I'll get first the total moles of HCl. So, yan, total moles. So, how do we get this? So, you just multiply in millimoles to, no? 0.4977 millimoles per ml, and that will be 25 ml. Cancel. So, that will have the millimoles. So, ang total millimoles ay 0.04977 times 25. So, 1.24425 millimoles. So take note, this is the overall moles of HCl. However, not all moles of HCl, millimoles of HCl reacted with the liberated ammonia, right? So ngayon, kaya tayo nag-back titration so that we can determine the excess HCl. So with this, the excess HCl is equal to kung ano man yung concentration of NaOH then times ko kay 3.97 ml. Kasi maliit lang naman siya. So you'll now have here the millimoles of NaOH and then we can get the millimoles of NaOH kada millimole ni HCl. So, sir, saan po galing yung NaOH at HCl? It's 1:1 reaction. You know this already. So, we've successfully converted the millimoles of NaOH to millimoles of HCl, and that will be your in excess na HCl. Okay? So, that will be 0.04012 multiplied by 3.97 Ayan. Ito ngayon yung in excess. 0.1592764 millimoles HCl. So, ano yung HCl na lang na nag-react with ano? Reacted with ammonia, Josh. Ano talaga? That will be 1.24425 minus 0.1592764 millimoles. So, that will be 1.22, ay, 244. 24425 minus 0.1592764. So, ito ngayon yung totoong nag-react lang. 1.08497 millimoles HCl. Okay. Is this what we want, Josh? Yung millimoles ng HCl? Of course, hindi, no? Kasi what we want is yung nitrogen. So, question, Josh, what's the stoichiometric relationship between HCl and nitrogen based dun sa reaction natin? Anong same? Okay. So, for every millimole of HCl, ilang millimoles ng ammonia ang magre-react? Okay, very good. And then, sa kada millimoles ni ammonia, ilan ba yung moles mo ng nitrogen? Yes, Josh? Sa kada millimole ni ammonia, ilan ang millimole mo ng nitrogen? O, you just check the formula lang. Yes, Josh? Isa lang. Okay, good. So, 1:1 lang to halos lahat eh. So, and then, meron ka ng millimoles in nitrogen. Is that what we want, yung millimoles in nitrogen? Percent protein. So, dapat gagawin ko siyang grams, right? Kailangan kong gawin tong grams kasi i-over ko siya dun sa sample eh para makuha ko yung percentage ni nitrogen. Then, imumultiply ko dun sa factor so that I can get the protein. Okay? So, I'll get the grams for every millimole. 1 millimole nitrogen. How many grams? 14.01 gram nitrogen. Milligram. And then, you have here 1,000 milligrams for every gram. And then, divide ko siya sa mass 0.7121 gram times 100% is equal to what? 1.0049736 times 14.01 all over 1,000. Then, i-divide ko kay 0.7121 times 100. Okay. So, ang sagot ko ay 2.1345. So, 45, sorry. 2.135% nitrogen. Is this what we want? Percent nitrogen ba yung gusto natin, Josh? Correct. So, yan. Since nakuha na natin yung nitrogen, we can easily get the percent protein by multiplying your percent nitrogen by your factor, no? Yan. Suitable factor for protein determination, that will be 2.135. 135% nitrogen times um, what's our factor? 5.70. Okay. So our percent protein is 12.17% protein.
Dapat po
So, mhm. Ayun ang hindi ko alam. So, i-check mo. What's our normal protein for wheat percentage? We can search that. Mhm. Wheat flour to, no? Tama ba, wheat flour? 6% to 15%. So, nasa ano to, no? Average. So, yeah.
madalas.
Nasa average siya. Ha? Yeah. So, within the average for protein content in wheat flours, in wheat flour as food product. Yon. Dahil dyan, I'll reshare our screen, tapos ikaw naman. Yan. Ako ang nag-ano niyan, nag-calculate nitong buo. So, ikaw ang sa second. Share the screen. Screenshot mo lang siya. Kapag nakita mo na Josh, ayan. Ikaw to. Pa-screenshot Josh. Then tell me if it's already done. If you already took the screenshot. Okay na tayo, Josh? Okay, good. So, kasi i-check ko na lang din yung next problem. Ako naman yung mag-screenshot nito. Ayan. Kasi yung next topic dito ay titration curve. We'll leave titration curve muna for the meantime. Okay? We'll discuss it sa next meeting. So, dito tayo mapuputol sa next problem din natin. And then, we're going to um, address now or continue our discussion for organic chemistry. So nice, no? Parang tig 1.5 tayo this week for Anachem and 1.5 sessions Anachem and organic. Wait, going to stop sharing and then going to reshare our whiteboard. Yeah. Okay. So, hopefully it's now sharing and then off ko muna yung video ko, Josh, para at least hindi siya ganun kabigat on your end. There you go. You can now paste, Josh, your um, problem here. That's Skeldal. And then I can also paste here the problem. This is still under indirect titration. Hindi nga lang Kjeldal ito, no? Yung pinis kong problem, hindi siya Kjeldal, Josh. Pero indirect titration pa rin siya. Yeah, we're going to solve that later. Together. Okay. Sige. Ikaw naman dyan sa second problem. How do you solve that? So it's another Kjeldal. Ay, go ahead lang, Josh. May very quick lang. May ilalagay lang ako sa ref. Hi, Josh. You're done? Mm-hmm. What's the next step there? Trip ko lang. I think I'm the one who created that problem. So I'm not sure if AI can solve that. Most probably baka kaya niya naman na. I'm not sure if it will lead you to the correct answer lang. Wait, I'm going to try. Wow. Oh, wait. I need the original file here. It's here. I'm going to transfer this. Control A. Then gonna try the chat GPT though. Yeah, feeling ko hindi niya kaya pa kasi lalo na kapag ano, sige check natin. Oh, bakit ganun? Parang nagfa-file type siya. I-text naman tong kinapi ko. Control E. Then, oo nga, nag-file type. Ay, going to check. What's this? Ang haba niya. Wala, nag-file type yata siya. Solve this. True. Mhm. for eggs daw, um, it's around 13% protein by weight. Although the egg white contains around 60% of the total protein. So, let's check. Baka malay mo ay
Hindi.
ah, egg meal, yeah. Mhm, true. Hindi naman siya egg. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Anyways, sige. Just continue that and then we're going to check it.
Gumana.
Yeah, gumana siya. I'm not sure if the answer is correct though.
Baka ano ko.
Mm-hmm. What? I'm not sure. Hmm. Ano, may sagot ka na, Josh? And then I'm going to check that. Tapos, saan? Mukhang nakuha ni ChatGPT, Josh.
ChatGPT.
Ah, hindi naka-ano na nga, free nga ba ito? Yeah, free lang ito eh. Like I just um search chatgpt.com and then input the problem. So, and anyways, we're going to check that if that is correct. It's very same kind ng answer ni ChatGPT. Ako, nung nakita ko din, ay mukhang kaya na ni ChatGPT kasi maganda naman yung pagkaka-arrange ng problem.
Ngayon hindi na
Hindi siya
siguro.
nag-hallucinate. I think there's a factor here on how you will construct the question because it's neat, right? So, and let me read the problem. An egg lover wants to find out the percentage of protein in his favorite egg meal. So he chose Yeldal method for protein determination. So we have here a 0.09820 gram egg sample. So ito yung dulong-dulo mo. This one, I'm going to use red this time. Yeah, so this is the mass of your sample. Okay, and then dinigest mo siya with concentrated nitric acid in a Keldal flask at 373 degrees Celsius. So, yan yung usual na range, no, Josh? It's around 300 plus na degrees Celsius for temperature, digestion temperature. And then, the liberated ammonium ions were converted to ammonia by adding sodium hydroxide, and then the volatile ammonia was condensed and trapped in a 25 ml 0.01435 molar sulfuric acid. So what's a catch here is that our acid trap is sulfuric acid. So dapat meron kang factor dyan for 2, right? Tama ba ako? Kasi ito ay, ayan, ito yung trap mo. Sulfuric acid solution. Okay. And then the excessive sulfuric acid was then back titrated with 37.09 times 37.09 of 0.007777 molar NaOH. Assuming that both acidic hydrogens of sulfuric acid are neutralized, calculate the percent protein in the egg sample. So for this, Josh, no, we're assuming here that both hydronium ion of the sulfuric acid will be neutralized by ammonia. So it will be driven into completion. Yun nga lang, ito ay ideal, Josh, no? If you will note that sulfuric acid, it's only the first, right? The first hydrogen of sulfuric acid will be um, strong acid, right? And then
Opo.
yung bisulfate itself, it's a weak acid already. So etong problem na to, Josh, problematic na siya talaga. May issue na siya. Kasi yung bisulfate mo, hindi dapat yun react completely with ammonia pa, no? Kasi ang ammonia ay isang weak base. So, however, we're assuming here that it's a diprotic acid. So, which is true naman, diprotic siya, pero diprotic na partial and diprotic na fully dissociated both hydrogen, no? So, yun yung assumption natin. Calculate the percent protein in the egg sample and then the Kjeldahl nitrogen factor for meat and eggs is 6.25. So to get the total moles of your sulfuric acid, we need to multiply the 25 ml with its concentration, 1,435. So tama ito. So, ta-translate ko lang to ha, Josh, para at least hindi tayo maguluhan. So that will be 25 ml times 0.01435. Ito yung total millimoles of 875. Millimoles to ni H2SO4. Okay? So, however, nag-back titrate in excess ito. So, minus yung mismong in excess. So, we're going to use here the millimoles of NaOH. 37.09 multiplied by 0.00 tapos sa apat na 7 will have, so yun nga lang ito ay 0.288449 na lang millimoles to ni NaOH. However, Josh, for every millimoles of NaOH, how many millimoles of sulfuric acid? Ito yung hindi ko nakita sa'yo or baka diniretso mo na siya. Yes, Josh. For every, kasi titration to eh. Ang pang back titrate mo, sodium hydroxide, right? So, yun. Correct. So, 2 millimoles. Sorry. It's the other way around. For every millimole of um, NaOH, you have 2 millimoles. Ayan na naman. Baliktad ako. For every millimoles of sulfuric acid, you have 2 millimoles of NaOH, right? So that will have the millimoles of NaOH. So that's already in the millimoles, and then I'm going to divide this by 2 so that I'll get the excess 0.144224. This is millimoles sulfuric acid. Ito ngayon yung excess natin, Josh. Okay, so if that is the case, we're going to have the exact moles that reacted with your, what do you call this? With your sample, with the ammonia, liberated ammonia, 0.144224. Okay. So, ayun na nga, Josh. Oh, mali parehas kayo ni ni ChatGPT. Kasi dapat, ito lang siya, millimoles ni sulfuric acid. Ay, okay. Wait. Pero this is the millimoles of sulfuric acid, right? Kaso lang, in-ammonia mo na pala. Kaso lang, kada millimole, ayan, ni sulfuric acid, tama. You have 2 millimoles ni ammonia. Tama ba tayo? Yeah, it requires 2 millimoles. So, cancel ito and then cancel ito. So, ito times 2 siya. Times 2. Oops, wait, let me check. I hope it's not running. Oh my God, it's running. Okay, anyways. Ayan. So, this will be 0.429052. Okay, mukhang tama kayo. Tama kayo ni Google, ni ChatGPT. So, that is the ammonia. So, therefore, this is also equal to millimoles nitrogen. Tapos, i-multiply ko sa 14.01. You have here 6.01102 milligrams nitrogen, which is equal to 0.00601102 grams. Okay, grams N all over the sample, which is 0.09820. Then you'll have here the percentage over 0.9820. That will be 6.121% N. So factor is 6.25. This is 38.26. 26% protein. Okay. Yep, correct. Tama kayo parehas ni ChatGPT, Josh. Surprising. Pero alam mo, feeling ko nga magiging ano na talaga siya, mas tama siya sa ngayon. Kasi alam mo ba, and sa future din, alam mo ba, Josh, pero feeling ko ang mga hindi niya pa kaya yung mga uh, very minute details when it comes to Anachem. Let's say, yung naalala mo yung mga um, super correct concentration, parang yung we need to consider the size of the ion so that we can get the correct concentration. Ano nga ito? Yung may effective diameter. So imagine that. It's kind of physical na rin kasi physical chem. But it's nice that ChatGPT actually got this. Ang reaction niya, ang sagot niya ay 38.26% protein. Yeah, 6.25 din. However, na-mention kasi yung factor na rin, Kjeldahl nitrogen factor din sa problem. Feeling ko malaking ano dito, Josh, ang ganda nung prompt natin. Kasi yung problem itself, it's a good prompt. No? So, garbage in, garbage out kasi si AI eh. So, yeah. Okay, so wait, I think we can now proceed with the next problem. Ayan, dalawa tayo dito, Josh. You move on to the left side of your whiteboard. Ayan. So this is still indirect titration. However, this is not Kjeldahl anymore because we're determining another substance here. Hi Josh, you're here. Okay, andito ka na ba, Josh? Okay. So we're going to have this problem solved first before we leave analytical chemistry. Ang next topic kasi dito ay what do you call this? Titration curve. So wait, I'm going to end lang the show here. Discard. Okay, and then tapos yeah. So we're just going to continue analytical chemistry sa next Anachem session. Okay, so before we proceed with organic chemistry, we have this, undo. We have here our last problem for indirect titration. So for this one, we have here determination of organic and biochemical substances. So ang sample daw natin, a 0.81660 gram sample of dimethyl phthalate. So the formula is given there. Molar mass is 194.19 and unreactive species was reflux with 50 ml of 0.31 molar NaOH to hydrolyze the ester group. So that is the reaction. So yan yung preliminary reaction natin. So take note, this is our preliminary reaction. Tapos yung um, mismong titrant natin, no? So after the reaction was complete, the excess NaOH was back titrated with 24.27 ml of 0.16 0.16 for 0.16 for molar HCl. Ano to, Josh? Actually, hindi to hindi siya indirect titration. Back titration lang ito. Sorry. Pag inanalyze. Kasi hindi naman supposed to be pag indirect titration, either one of the products will be titrated. Tapos yun yung i-relate natin. Pero ang nangyari, ito yung mismong excess yung titrant mo, no? So, inad siya intentionally as excess so that it will be you'll drive the reaction into completion. Okay. Tapos yung sobra, binaktitrate na lang siya with HCl. This is your titrant number 2. No? So, we need to calculate the percentage of dimethyl phthalate daw in the sample. So, ayan. Tama ba ang aking deduction doon, Josh? Is this an indirect titration or a back titration technique? Hmm. Sige, you read. Ano yan? Indirect siya or back titration lang? The technique. Bakit hindi siya pwedeng indirect titration? Hmm.
Ano yung
Ano? Sorry, yung 'pag indirect titration, yung known excess yung magre-react sa indirect titration. Tama ba yun? Hmm. Anong ginagawa mo pag Yeldal?
back Actually, ang back
Hindi, hindi siya indirect titration, Josh. When you say indirect titration, yung isang product mo, yun yung tinatitrate mo. Kaya nga siya indirect eh. Kasi wala kang direct titrant para dun sa analyte. So what you need to do is react first the analyte so that you form a product and then the product will be titrated now. Ganun siya, right? Kaya siya indirect titration. Did you get that,
May
Josh? Mm. Pag back titration, may excess lang yung ano, may excess ka na yung titrant 1 mo in excess, kaya ka kailangan may titration reaction 2 so that you can determine the excess reagent for your titrant 1. Yan, katulad nito, anong ginawa mo lang dito? Hindi mo naman tinitrate yung isa sa mga products kasi ang mga products mo ay itong um, dimethyl phthalate ion tsaka methanol. Eh hindi naman methanol ang either of the two, hindi mo siya tinitrate. Kasi pag back titration, one of the products of your preliminary reaction will be titrated. And then, indirect titration iyon. Pero anong tinitrate mo dito sa problem? Anong tinitrate mo dyan, Josh? Yes, Josh. Ano ang tinitrate mo dyan? Which is what? That's your original what? Yun yung nilagay. And hindi ka dyan nag-indirect kasi nga,
direct 1
hindi
ako
naman yung product. Ha?
direct.
Kumbaga, direct siya in a sense na si hydroxide mo, nireact mo talaga dun sa analyte. However, sumobra kasi siya, yung direct reagent mo, no? Or direct titrant. Sumobra siya. So, what? Kaya ka sumobra kasi yung ano mo eh, direct reagent mo eh.
Kaya nag
Kaya ka nag-back titrate. Ngayon, indirect titration ba ito?
don't think so.
Yun. So, hindi talaga siya indirect titration. Kasi nga, ang nangyari dito, Josh, hindi naman yung product, no? Yung one of the products will be titrated. Neither of the two, neither the ion or methanol was titrated here. So, ngayon, this is just an example of back titration. So, back titration lang ito. Mali ang aking pagkaka-arrange. This is for back titration. Yeah, back titration lang yan, Josh. So, if that is the case, so back titration lang yung gagawin natin dito. So, ayan, isolve natin. Ako lang magsosolve ng total moles, ikaw naman dun sa excess. So, ang total moles ni hydroxide ay, ayun lang, 0.1031 um, millimole NaOH sa kada ml. And I have 50 ml originally. So, and this will be equal to what? Um, 0.1031 multiplied by 50, 5.155 millimoles NaOH. Josh, ilan ang excess? Pa-determine, Josh. Ayan, para at least hati tayo dito sa problem na to. Mm. Ilan ang Yeah, so 1:1 lang naman yan sila eh. Naka-ano ka, ano nga tawag dito? Moles, right? Mhm. O, ayan. Akin naka-millimoles kasi. Kada millimole ni HCl, I have 1 millimole of NaOH also. Pero correct, so minus na kaagad to. 3.98999 millimoles NaOH. Ito yung excess natin. So, aha. So, ilan ang talagang nag-react lang? 1.165012 millimoles NaOH. And then, I can now get the millimoles of your dimethyl phthalate. DMP na lang to ha. Gawin kong DMP, Josh. What's the stoichiometric relationship between hydroxide, Josh, and the DMP, your analyte? So mole, for every millimole of DMP, you will have it required 2 millimoles of sodium hydroxide. Tapos, in grams ang gusto natin. Percentage, no? Yeah. So, millimoles ito, 1,000 millimoles sa kada mole. Conversion factor lang. And then, for every mole of your DMP, 194.19 grams. For every mole, DMP, 194.19 grams. So, putol ko muna dito. So, millimole NaOH, then DMP, millimole, okay. So, grams DMP na ito. 165,102 over 2 over 1,000 times 194.19. That will be 0.113168 grams DMP. So percent DMP is equal to this 1.113168. 68 grams all over ang mass ng sample ay 0.81. 0.8160 times 100. So that ay so that will be over 0.n16 for Sigfig. 13.86% Josh na DMP. Okay. Did you get this? Okay na? Okay. So, yeah. I think that's it for Anachem. Very, very fast. At least mga 15 minutes tayo kay ano, kay nino nga ito, kay organic. Gonna stop share lang, Josh. Okay, there. Tapos, I'll be going now to organic. Mhm. Or pwede namang idiretso ko na. Sorry, Josh. Idiretso ko na to. Parang ang onting oras na lang kasi. Maganda kung ano siya. Yung parang mga 1 hour pa yung naiwan. Pero or mga at least 40 minutes. Okay lang yun. Titration curve tayo mag-end. I'm going to reshare lang my PowerPoint, Joshua, for what do you call this? Uh, volumetric analysis for Anachem. Lipat ko na nga rin yung ano, yung slide na yun. That slide supposed to belong in back titration, not in indirect titration. So indirect titration yun, si Keldal yun. Kasi hindi naman natin directly tinitrate, no? Si nitrogen. Instead, nagkaroon muna tayo ng preliminary reaction wherein you form an ammonia there, and then yung ammonia yung tinitrate natin against an acid, no? Kasi may acid trap ka. Tapos binaback titrate pa nga natin siya. So, combined, no? May back titration ka na, may indirect titration ka pa sa Kjeldal. Okay. So, wait. I'm going to move this problem before indirect titration. Yeah, before titer. There. Yan, back titration kasi siya. Okay, so let me go back to the slide. Actually, yan. Almost ano na tayo, papalapit na tayo, Josh, dun sa kung saan tayo naputol. Nag-left off nung natapos tayo. Okay, can you now see my slide, Josh? Okay, what slide do you see? Again? Sorry, hindi ko alam kung tama yung... Okay, go. Tama. Yung sa isa kong device na nakasali, naputol ako. So, ayun, naputol siya. Ayan. Magre-rejoin. Okay, titration curve, correct. So, you now have here your titration curve. Then, so take note, Josh, no? Since titration is you're adding here incrementally, no? Parang incrementally, parang slow step, no? Or parang um, minute minute addition of your titrant tapos dun sa analyte mo dinadagdag, no? So we can actually create a progress curve so that we can track kung ano nangyayari dun sa reaction, and that's what we call titration curve for titration, no? So it's just a plot of some property of the titration mixture. It's variable, no? You can it's arbitrary. You can um, use different parameters for that as your y-axis, no? So usually si y-axis yung property, no, na nag-change as the reaction progresses. And then yung x-axis mo, Josh, is usually what? For titration curve. Sige nga. So ano ba yung ina-add mo? Or how can you measure yung ina-add? Kasi yun yung nagbabago every time na magkakaroon ng reaction progress eh. So, ibig sabihin, yung y-axis mo, a parameter that indicates reaction progress. So, it can be pH, potential, so anything that we can measure so that we can determine reaction progress or monitor reaction progress. So, what's your x valued here, Josh? Usually, for titration curve. Yes, Josh? What's your x-axis, Josh? Yes. What? What's your x-axis, Josh? Yan, nilib ko na yung isa kong account kasi ano naman to eh.
Kaya tama.
Ha? Yun, volume kasi nga yun yung binabago natin during titration. 'Di ba nagbabago yun? Kasi nag-add ka ng drop ng titrant mo eh. So definitely the volume of your solution changes every time that you'll add a volume, a certain amount of your titrant. So ngayon, kung acid-base reaction ito, Josh, no? What is y-axis here? Dahil acid-base ito, madaling i-measure ang pH, no? So your pH will be the y-axis and then yung x-axis natin will be the volume of your solution. Or pwede rin yung volume ng titrant na nadadagdag natin. So take note, Josh, ha, sabi ko nga, yung y-axis natin, it can be any type or arbitrary ito. It can be any parameter that we can measure, physically measure, so that we can indicate that the reaction progresses, no? Nangyayari yung reaction. So, pwedeng yung pH ito. Pero if you have potentiometric titration, Josh, it's a type of electrochemical titration. Ibig sabihin nito, Josh, may nang babago dun sa voltage. So, yun. Ibang type yun ng curve, no? So, actually, we can use pa rin titration curve there, no? Pero ibang type ng curve ang nabubuo. So, kunwari, pag pH, ang ginagamit natin for titration curve as your y-axis, yan, P function to. So, kasi ang P function, logarithmic yan, negative logarithm pa nga to be specific. Okay? So, the P function of your analyte or sometimes the titrant is plotted as a function of titrant volume. So, if that is the case, you'll get a sigmoidal curve here, the S curve, no? So, ayan. So,
Para medyo
reagent volume is here. Ito ang common talaga for acid base. So, however, like what I mentioned, no, you can actually change or vary the y-axis, like what I mentioned, something that we can physically measure every time we'll add a certain amount of your titrant, no? Or if the volume of your solution changes, that will be, let's say, instrument reading, let's say voltage. Kung electrochemical reaction ang nangyayari, Josh, definitely voltage will change. No? So we'll have here the linear segment curve. So in linear segment curves, measurements are made on both sides of but well away from the equivalence point. And then the vertical axis represents an instrument reading, yung parameter nga na pwede lang nating ma-measure, which is directly proportional to the concentration of your analyte or the titrant. Okay? So, ito ngayon yung tanong ko. So, asan yung equivalence point? So, equivalence point, of course, is the point in titration wherein you'll have the equal amount of the reagent or the analyte rather versus the titrant. So, for sigmoidal curve, siya yung inflection point na tinatawag natin sa math. Ayan. Itong part na to, no? Kasi at this point, the direction of your curve changes. No? So, let's say itong sigmoidal curve mo is going up and then ayan, pataas siya, no? Pero from here, yun, nagbago ng direction, no? So, that is your inflection point. That will be your equivalence point, no? So, there's a certain amount of volume here that indicates your equivalence point. We call that, of course, the equivalence point volume, no? Or EQ point volume ito. Okay? So, ganyan yung pag-graph natin or pag-determine ng equivalence point sa sigmoidal curve. Sa linear segment curve, it looks like parang intersection siya ng mga lines, no? Kasi linear lang siya eh. Okay? So, if you will notice here, this direction, this line is going here. Yeah, parang ganyan. And then this line is going here. Tapos, during the equivalence point, no, nagkaroon ng intersection dun sa dalawang lines mo. And that will be your equivalence point. So similarly, no, your equivalence point will have a corresponding equivalence point volume. Okay, so for the acid-base titration, we're going to use lang yung sigmoidal curve. Okay, so for the other types of titration, Josh, you'll meet the linear segment curve, especially in the potentiometric titration. So potentiometric, it means we're going to measure the potential, the voltages, no? Changes in voltage as you add more titrant to your um, analyte or solution. Take note, Josh, ibig sabihin, ang catch mo dito, if you want to have a linear segment curve, dapat kung potentiometric titration, you need to have an electrochemical reaction, no? So that the voltage will change. It's something that we can read using an instrument. Okay? So, naintindihan ba yun, Josh? Okay. So, let's proceed. So we have here your sigmoidal curve, no? Or the S curve. It consists of two lines that are parallel with one another, and then there's a line, no? Parang parallel sila, Josh, and then connected lang yan sila nitong line na to. And yan. And then this line, no? Ano nga ang tawag dito sa geometry? Nakalimutan ko, Josh. 'Di ba parallel lines? Yung ganun, transverse line ba yan? Tama
Transverse.
ba? Transverse line, the line that covers the two lines then. I'm not sure. Nakalimutan ko na yung geometry ko, Josh.
Transverse yata po.
Anyways, ha?
Transverse.
Okay, so parang ano siya, two parallel lines connected by your transverse line. Ida-drop mo lang yung both sides, no, nung parallel lines. Okay? And then that's your S-curve or sigmoidal curve. So, let's understand yung mga specific parts ba, no, nung sigmoidal curve natin, Josh. So, yung sigmoidal curve natin, since dalawa nga siyang parallel lines, no, tapos nagkaroon ka ng transverse curve, transverse line. So, yung nagko-connect dun sa dalawang lines na yun, parallel lines, in chemistry, dun sa titration curve natin, we call that the pH break. Okay. So, why pH break? It's also called as the pH transition range. Kasi dito, yung magkakaroon ng sudden change. Malaki, no? Yung change in pH. Or ano siya? Distinct. It's a significant change of your pH, no? A sudden change in pH of the solution and then causes the slope of the line to change. So, which makes the curve, no, to have parang it seems like you'll have two parallel lines there. Kasi nga nagkaroon ka ng pH break dito. Kaya yan. Ito yung pH break mo. Ngayon, kung naalala mo, di ba Josh, may mga pH breaks na malalaki, may mga pH breaks na mas steep, no? So, ngayon, dun muna tayo sa bilang nung inflection point or nung pH break mo. So the number of inflection points in your S-curve or titration curve or the steep portions of your curve, no? It's an indication of the stoichiometric ratio between the analyte and titrant. So katulad nito, ayan, how many inflection points or pH breaks do you see here, Josh? One. So it means it's just a 1:1 na ratio. Pero for this one, how many? Yung sa right side. Ito. Ilan ang inflection point mo, Josh? Saan? Sige nga, paki-indicate. A, A2, E. Ilan ang inflection points mo? Again, CE. Okay, good. C. Ayan, nagbago ang ano dito. Tapos starting to D and E. Okay. Okay, good. So, ngayon, anong ibig sabihin yan? So, the inflection point
Opo,
indicates
ano ba?
the molar relationship, stoichiometric molar ratio. Ano? Again, sorry.
Mm,
Mm-mm. O, wait, ano nangyayari sa pH? Increasing, decreasing? Mm. Oh, Josh, ano nangyayari sa pH? Increasing, decreasing?
in which
Ay, ano, sorry, sa right, ano natin? Kasi yun yung tinatanong ko eh. Right titration curve. What happens to your pH?
ano, mababa.
Okay, so ano ang analyte mo? base kasi nag-start siya sa mataas eh. Tapos habang nagdadagdag ka ng titrant na acid, bumababa siya. So, sino ngayon ang 2? Yung titrant o yung analyte? Kasi 1:2 eh. Or 2:1, right? 1 titrant, um, 2 analyte. Or 2 titrant, 1 analyte. Sino ngayon ang titrant? Ay, sino, sino ngayon ang 2? Yes, Josh. Sino ang 2? Actually, ayun. Of course, yung what? Yung base or yung acid? O yung titrant o yung analyte? Based dun sa curve. Check mo.
Tuwang ka na
Ah, dalawang titration
dalawang
siya?
beses.
O, ibig sabihin, kung dalawang beses siya na-neutralize, ibig sabihin nun, yung analyte mo ay diabasic or diprotic. Ano ba yung analyte mo dito sa right
Hindi.
titration curve? Correct, diabasic ito. Mm. So this is diabasic na sample, no? Or analyte. And pababa kasi siya. So take note, usually Josh, hindi natin nakikita, um, hindi nakikita eh. Ang nakikita natin sa titration curve directly, yung number ng inflection points is for the analyte. So kung dalawa yung inflection points mo, dalawang beses siya na neutralize. That's correct, no? So you'll have 2 inflection points there. So ngayon, it determines um the I'm getting the right term. Hindi siya ano eh. ah, yung pagiging monoprotic, diprotic, polyprotic. Oh, yeah. Oo. There's a correct term for that eh. Yung acid or basic, ano niya, mole, no? Yung kaya niyang i-let go na H plus or OH minus. Pero you get what I mean, no? So, yun. There's a generic term for that. Um, ayun, tignan mo, tama tayo. Equivalency, pwedeng term yon, no? So, it's a di-equivalent base. May mas tamang term dito, hindi ko kasi polyprotic, ah, hindi naman siya acidity or basicity. So anyways, oh, ah, poly... Inisip ko nga kung froticity, pero hindi eh. Equivalency, pwede yun. Kasi ito, di-equivalent base siya eh. No? So, equivalency. So, correct tayo, no? Our analyte is a base and it's a di-equivalent base or a diabasic base. And then we titrate that with a strong acid. Okay? So, regardless kung yung di-equivalent base natin ay weak or strong, it's enough for us to perform titration, no? Because there's a strong species here, your strong acid, it will drive the reaction into completion. Okay? So we just continue. Josh, baka mag-end na to anytime. Pag ganon, I'll meet you next meeting na ha. So, okay. So, tomorrow yun, which is tomorrow. Kasi wala naman tayong meeting kahapon. Okay, so basta maputo lang, tomorrow na tayo mag-meet. So we have different types of titration, tsaka yung titration curve. We have the acid base. Generally S curve itong mga to. No? So ano siya? Sigmoidal. If you will notice kasi the y-axis, they're consistent. P function pa rin siya, which is negative logarithm. So for acid base, we have the pH or POH, take note, versus the volume of the titrant. And then for precipitation titration, we still have the PAG, P silver, if we're going to use argentometric titration. PX, it can be P chloride, P magnesium, depende dun sa minimeasure natin na ion or cat.